Hello and welcome to Biz Buzz with Bruno, presented by Mads Theater. I'm Michael Bruno, your host, and today we're here with Gina Gomez, one of my favorite people in Madison, who's here to talk to us about the upcoming production with Theatre of Madison. Welcome, Gina.
Hello everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Great.
So for people that may not know you as well as some people like I do, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your background is and what you're currently doing and what you've been doing up to this point.
Sure. That's a loaded question. I've been kind of involved in theater since I was a kid. I think that's kind of a usual answer, I'm sure. I grew up about 25 minutes northwest of here in a little place called Sauk City. They had a really robust show choir program, I think, as you know. So, and then that just led me to going into theater in college. And then I just decided one year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to move to Minneapolis. Why not? So I did that, and that was great.
That was a short little chapter, wasn't it?
It was just a short little blip. I came back. I worked in the restaurant industry for a good long while just because, I was just a little lost for a while. And then I always came back to theater, though, as kind of a mainstay, something that always grounded me in an interesting way. So when I actually moved back to the Twin Cities in around 2013, I was more involved in their theater scene there. So I did a few productions with Freshwater Theater. And then I moved back down here because my family's located in Madison. And then, I've just been kind of working slowly up in the theater realm here in Madison. I know it's very robust. The theater realm in Madison is like complex. It's really interesting to navigate. I think the first few months I was a little nervous to even come in. It took me a while to even audition for like August Osage County. I was like, I don't know about this. But that was a great introduction. I had already knew Dave Posh from like previous stuff. He's really great. And then he kind of introduced me to everyone around, like Deb Hurst, and I met Stacy through that production, and a few others. Ben, I think I met you as well. Through that production. It was a really great production to like start off in the theater world here in Madison, because I met a lot of people who I felt were either up and coming change makers or change makers at the time. And then from there, I just did a few productions here and there. I write on the side. I've been for 20 years. I've been like teaching ever since I was a teenager. I've been teaching theater to little youngins.
Whoopin' Soccer, right?
Yep.
Great company.
Yep. And then I actually ended up talking to, this is when Jessica Lanius was involved with Whoopin' Soccer. I had talked to her and she's like, don't you teach? You should come and do this. And it was great. And I loved it. The students are great. And so that's what I've been doing. So we've been back now since the pandemic. So that's what I've been doing the last few years, is really focusing on teaching and kind of directing more of like the back end stuff now. I'm more of back of house than front of house kind of person. Just because I think the older I get, the more I like directing and the more I like teaching other students. It's been great.
And now you haven't done any acting in a while. Because when I first met you as an actress. So now you've kind of like branched out and like I said, your teaching has always been there. You're directing a piece now for Theatre of Madison. What was the last show that you actually performed in?
The Vagina Monologues at the Barrymore for the Safe Harbor. Yep. I was asked to do that. So, and I was really lucky. I got to work with Dana Pelleban, who I hadn't worked with before, who is just
we adore
wonderful.
Dana. We adore you. We adore you. We adore you.
Yeah, she is pretty amazing to work for.
She
She just knows exactly what she wants. She's pretty inspiring to learn from, as well as from like a director standpoint. So, I did that. It was the first time in a long time. I was really nervous because it was only one night and that was it. It was like, don't mess up. But I really enjoyed it, being back on stage. But I think just because being in the classroom and then for a little bit, I did perform with Whoopin' Soccer, in their small hour shows, which are so much fun and they're great. for me, it's just more of a mental health thing. Like, I'm like, I did a lot of teaching, and I was a lot, doing a lot, face like, what's up? How you doing? I'm like, everything's great. And then like going back to my house and being like, I need to like numb out just because it was great, but also kids were like, you're weird. I know. So just for me, I haven't been performing as much. It'll come back. For me, it's just more like I need the rest. And I had a lot of personal stuff happen with me. My dad passed away last year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So it's just for me, like I'm just taking time for myself, and that's really nice. So I love watching younger folk come up and being like, their time to shine. So I'm very big on supporting them.
Excellent. Now, tell me a little bit more about your writing. Are you writing plays? Are you writing journals? Are you writing your life story? What's your writing process?
Life story. That sounds so exciting. No, I write. I write plays. I mean, it sounds very interesting. One day, I just had an interesting idea. I wrote it down. I showed it to my partner, and he was like, "You should." Like explore that, seeing like where it goes. And then I wrote a show that I was really lucky enough that Broom Street basically put on. I just did a reading basically, and Doug's like, you want to put that on? I'm like, I guess so. I was lucky enough to have Ben photograph it. I love those photos still. They're like some of my favorites. They are. They're some of my favorites. And it was great. That show is still going through some writing edits and everything like that. I've entered it a few times in some other stuff, but like it's a little different than it was. And then I also owed Doug a show at Broom Street, which actually was great. It put a lot of pressure under me. So I wrote an hour show called The Guest Book, which premiered there last August, and it was great. The first weekend was a little crazy. Unfortunately, Stacy, I wrote that part for her. So she came down with COVID. So we had Kate Yayeski step in, graciously in a week, learned lines and did a whole show. And she was great. But then we had Stacy back and it was awesome as well. So I learned so much during that about COVID and about protocols and about a whole host of safety features and what to do when your show is that close and then you have to like postpone. So learning how to deal with that stress. So that was really great. That was a really great learning process for me being there. And then before that, before COVID, pre-COVID, I had assistant directed with on Held at Madison Theater, Madison Music Theater. So I was pretty happy to do that. That was really fun. That was also pretty chaotic because that was like right before everything kind of shut down. But it was a beautiful show.
It was a beautiful show.
Yeah, and it was held at an interesting spot. Like the way we had to stage that was really interesting. So I liked kind of I really like the challenges of how to like stage that and the way it was staged. So I was pretty lucky. I felt really lucky about doing that with them. But this show's a little different just because that show was like, like it already had a full show at Broom Street before. So we had gotten it after, like kind of a revamp. So this show is a little different. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Perfect segue. So tell us a little bit about this show that Music Theatre Madison is doing.
So the show coming up that we are going to be workshopping is called Micro. It's by Adam Quittishat and Heidi Jutson. They are lovely and talented people. I would say music and lyrics by Adam as well as music by Heidi. It's just a really great show. It's about kind of the microaggressions people of color, particularly Black students, I would say, face in higher education. And so he has been working on they've been working on this for a few years. The music's really stunning. I had the really big luck of working with the read through with a coworker and a friend of mine named Ananda Deacon, who is now I think in Chicago, trying to be a lawyer, which is amazing, who was so amazing, and we worked so well together, and we just had so many great ideas, and Adam kind of came through that writing process, and now we're making changes because of that read through. And I'm really looking forward to like the next step in the process, which is this workshop. I know a lot of people are like, well, is it a full show? What is it? So it's a workshop. Basically, we're going to have some scenes, I would say probably staged, but mostly not a lot of stuff staged. We will have projections of certain things that we want the set to look like, what we want the costumes to look like. Just because we're at the Burr Oak, which
is a great venue.
Oh, I love that venue. I've done a few deliciouses there. I also, because the set in this show, there's many different sets, but it's also kind of, there's a highlighting of what this person went through. So we're following this person throughout what they went through in their vision. So it's more amalgamous. It's not as set. So I'm really excited for like people to see what ideas that we're coming up with here. So.
And you've got 5 cast members, and is it just piano, or is there a small orchestra, small band?
I think right now it's just piano because it's a workshop. It's kind of like, I know it's coming to Broadway, but like Secret Garden.
Oh,
yeah. I remember they had a really like very public workshop thing where they had some scenes were staged, and then sometimes they were standing and delivering while people were talking about what was going on in the background. So I'm really excited for that.
And it's also part of World Premiere Wisconsin, right? Which is very cool. I mean, there's so many amazing productions that are being put out around town.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful ones. So I congratulate everyone that's part of that as well. Yeah. And so I'm really excited about this, just because I know some people might be confused. They're like, well, this is not a full show, but this is how musicals, especially because this is a musical, like this is how they're born. They're not, they're not like somebody wrote a musical, now let's put it on a stage. And that's, sometimes it is, but it's, in the professional world, it's not like that. You have read-throughs, and then there's multiple workshops, and then you stage it. And even that first staging might be a little different than the next staging. So I'm really excited to be a part of the process.
And what's it like directing a new piece?
It's interesting. It's interesting. That's a really great question, because it's interesting. It's more collaborative. I really am, I'm a collaborative person. I really like to seek out advice from the creator. So I'm very vocal with our creators, Heidi and Adam, being like, what are your visions? And then kind of also grabbing from Mark as well. Like, what's your thought on this music? And then trying to putting that together. I'm really creative and collaborative in that way, just because a show doesn't go without everyone involved. And I feel like if you collaborate, then I feel everyone has a say, and they also have a part in the creative process. So really, I don't know. It's been really exciting, just because I know Adam and Heidi have been working really hard, and they've asked for opinions, but like a lot of the stuff that they've come out with has just been stunning, and I'm really excited for everyone to just see what they've come up with.
And I think the other really nice thing is that you don't have to compare it to.
Yeah.
It's like, well, when they did it that time, or when this cast did it, or when that person sang that, and when they so you have none of that baggage that comes with it, which I think, as a director, must be really refreshing.
It is. It's refreshing and a little scary. But I think because I know you've done some world premieres. It's scary because you're hoping that the audience likes what you're putting on, and you're hoping that the creative team as well, who wrote it, is like happy with the direction where the show is going. So that's really important for me. So hence why I'm like, all right, everyone, let's get in a room, let's work together, because if we get everyone's voice, and no one can say you didn't listen to them.
Well, they could, but don't they get away with it?
Yes. So I also just care too about like their feelings, because I know, and too, when you write something, you have that personal attachment to it. I know that as well. And so I just want to be able to be like, okay, so what are we trying to grapple right here? Like, what are we doing with right here? And how can we make it better? What can we add? What can we take away? So I'm really excited to just like get the ball rolling. I've already, obviously I know on my end, I've already kind of started just to like make some notes, as directors might, but so I'm just kind of excited to get the actors in the room and just kind of get going.
And is it all music, or is there dialogue as well?
Oh, there's dialogue. Yeah. Yeah, it's not all music, but it's interspersed. It's Adam and Heidi have a really smart way of interspersing music and dialogue, and I really like it. And it's very stunning, so I'm really excited for everyone to hear it.
And that's one of the amazing things about Music Theater Madison and Megan, is that she finds some of the most exquisitely bizarre shows that no one ever would touch in Madison. And then she also is really wonderful using creative people with new pieces, which a lot of companies don't do that. I mean, they stick by the the true standards of like, how many times can we see Oklahoma? Okay. Let's put a new spin on South Pacific. Okay. But I always give her credit. And she comes up with, number one, the collaboration of the people that she has, that she surrounds herself with, is wonderful for Madison. It's such a great way that artists can get a chance to really have a chance to do new and exciting pieces, and wonderful for audiences to see things that they would never probably think about going to do, like seeing something like this where it's a brand new piece, in its infancy. Like going to see Hamilton before Hamilton became Hamilton.
Yeah, right.
Or like you say, Secret Garden, any of those big shows that went through that process, that didn't just open on Broadway as this new magical piece of music.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get that confused, not being part of, I guess, the professional realm in like musical theater per se. I wouldn't even consider myself super professionally in there. I have a lot of friends who are super involved, and yeah, it takes a lot of work. Like new musicals go through a lot of work. I think, another great example for me, and this is just a big Broadway show, but like Hadestown, she started writing that in 2006. And then I think 10 years later it became a show, but even then she was still having to go through community productions and workshops and then building up to what it is today, which is this award-winning show. But I think a lot of people take for granted the road it took to get to that really beautiful show that people pay a lot of money to go see. So, it started off kind of what we're doing right here, where we're talking about development of songs and development of stories. So I'm really excited that that a company in Madison, especially I know like Music Theater of Madison, like can tell people and show people like, hey, this is how it's done. And this is like what real professional companies do. Mostly everywhere in the United States. I know people say like New York City, but I know they do it up in Minneapolis and Chicago and Milwaukee, everywhere. But this is how like shows become shows, So I'm really kind of excited to show people like, this is how it is. Come on and see, come be a part of it,
Right. And it's only one night, right?
It's only one night. Correct. June 9th. So I'm like nervous and excited.
And it's at the Baroque, which is a great space. And what time is it at?
I think, 7 p.m. from what I'm gathering? Yep, 7 p.m. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of that night in terms of what time do I have to be there? And
I'll be there 4 a.m.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to be there at like 3. I'm going to be doing some stuff. I'm going to pace for an hour. It's going to be great.
Right. And tickets are available. Is the Baroque selling the tickets, or is it through Music Theater Madison?
I believe it's through Music Theater Madison.
Okay.
So if it's on the Baroque, I believe the website will take you
over there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited. And the cast we have is insanely talented. I'm really excited to work with them. I know
Amanda.
Yep, that is Amanda.
I love my Amanda.
So, and we have, we have new one. Her name is Christine, our new Allie. She's great. So I'm really looking forward to like working with her and working with our cast that we have. Yeah, it's going to be really fun. And like I said, some of these songs are like, they're so stunning. It makes like I sing them in like the shower. I do not sound as good as any of our singers coming in.
But when you're in the shower, you sound beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow, it sounds great. So, but yeah, I'm really excited for folks to see this.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't covered about the show in particular, about music theater, in your copious amount of notes that you've taken for us today, which I'm very proud of you. That's such a teacher thing.
I'm like, ooh, let me look at my notes. Yeah, I mean, I guess, we haven't really talked about like what, Micro is about, the microaggression one faces. And I think for me, I think the main theme that we want to take away for this show is like, how can you make yourself heard and enact changed without sacrificing your own self, which I really love this premise of the show. Like, Allie still has to be herself in the end. And, at what point do you take a loss in order to maintain your own self-peace? And it's so, like, for me, it's really personal. Like, whenever I read this show and think about it, like, I know it's not as big. I know there's a court case in the show and everything like that, but I've had similar issues come up in my own personal life where I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, this resonates really well. So I'm really excited for just folks in general to see, like, how does one deal with that? And I just really love that Adam and Heidi are tackling this in a musical. So, yeah.
And do you have an idea about how long it runs?
They're still making cuts and edits, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So right now, I know it's going to be over an hour. So I don't know until we got the full script in front of me with all the cuts and stuff like that. I can't let you know, but I'm really excited because like the songs that are in there are really stunning, and we have some really great singers. So.
Yeah, you have a great cast.
Yeah. I'm really excited to like hear them all together. It's gonna be pretty amazing.
Plus, at the Baroque, you can have a cocktail.
Yeah,
you can have some delicious food.
You can have nice
chit-chat with some people you've never sat with before.
I don't know you, but hello. So yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know. It's gonna be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, the Baroque's really fun, and hopefully staying for. I think we're gonna have a talk back afterwards, and people have questions. Hopefully they're not going to be like, Gina, I'll be like, you can ask some of these folks. Because again, being collaborative, I'm very much also very open with the cast and some of their actor interpretations, being an actor first and then dealing with that. So dealing with going into directing, I also like to talk to my actors who are part of the creative team. So I'm really looking forward to just the whole process.
Excellent. Well, do yourself a big favor and make sure you get tickets to see these, because for my money, Music Theatre Madison does some of the most creative and talented productions in town, and they hire intelligently talented people to do their shows. So, Micro Workshop at June 9th at the Baroque. Yeah. Gina, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate your coming in at the last minute to be sitting here.
Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting us in. And Thanks everyone for listening. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Good. Well, go out and enjoy the rest of this Mother's Day weekend. Yeah. That's it. Mother's Day weekend.
Right.
Excellent. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.